Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our parent university. My name is Mr. Omar Edwards, Associate Director, Strategic Planning Initiatives for the School District of Manatee County. The purpose of Parent University is really to engage our students and parents in a dialogue to really look at improving student achievement. So that's the goal of this evening. We have a wonderful panel. We're going to have a moderator that's going to generate a discussion that's going to lead to healthy conversations around improving student achievement. So with that, I'll turn it over to our moderator at this time, Ms. Dr. Tara Brown. She'll come forward at this time and she'll introduce our panel.
Good afternoon. So I am going to allow the panel to introduce themselves. Is there a microphone on this side? All right, so we'll start down here on the end and we'll work our way down.
Hello, my name is Lisa Irby. I am an English 10 teacher at Bayshore High School, and I've been in the district for about 6 years, and I love my job, and my principal has just walked in, so I'll pass the mic to him.
Good evening. My name is Wendell Butler. I am the principal at Bayshore High School. Okay, perfect.
My name is Krista Francis. I'm the assistant principal at Moody Elementary School.
Hi, I'm Adriana Byrne. I'm a teacher at Moody Elementary School.
I'm Deanna Shinning. I'm a sixth grade English teacher at King Middle School.
Good evening. My name is Mike Mullen, and I am the principal at King Middle School.
Good evening. I'm John Morrell, a deputy with Manatee County Sheriff's Office. A lot of them remember me as a retired lieutenant involved in the School Resource Officer program. Happy to be here.
And my name is Tara Brown. I'm Assistant Director of Professional Learning for the School District of Manatee County. So the way that this panel will work is I have 9 generated questions. I'll ask the questions and our panel will kind of jump in to answer those questions. At the end, if our audience has any questions for our panel, then we'll take that time for you to ask those questions. So question number 1. What is the biggest factor that has helped you achieve success in life?
Probably the biggest factor that has influenced me to achieve success in life is the folks that were in the classrooms when I was a young man. I was influenced by many of my coaches, many of my teachers, and you couple that with my parents, my family, older brothers. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you have to learn to listen twice as much as you talk. And I did that. So the folks that helped raise me were my teachers, my coaches, and my family.
Anyone from this side want to jump in?
I would say very close to the same thing. My parents are number 1. And then definitely my friends that I surrounded myself with. Always found that group that kind of pushed me to work harder and try to achieve, work for my goals and give me new experiences. So, and my coworkers for sure. I've had a lot of them along the way that have inspired me and really kind of challenged me in different ways.
Very good. What are some daily routines or habits that you've used that have helped you to achieve your success?
One of the things that helps me is every morning I make my to-do list. I map out exactly what I want to achieve that day, what I want to achieve throughout the week. That way I have a clear mindset of what my goals are and what I need to do to get there.
I think one of the things that I constantly use is more of a mental reminder every day to put the first things first. For me as a leader, I can get pretty caught up in a lot of things all the time to where it feels like I can never complete something. So I have to always remind myself of prioritizing those things that are most important, that I know that I absolutely have to address within that day, and that it's okay at the end of the day that if I haven't finished something, that it will be there for me tomorrow, because just like life, the work that we're doing never ends. So just putting those things into perspective, the first things first, and then just compartmentalizing those, that's just mentally for me what I try and do daily.
What qualities do you all look for in a leader? What do you consider your most outstanding leadership quality?
The qualities that I look for in leadership, definitely integrity, flexibility. When I think about what we do in the classroom, even as educators, being flexible with our students, with their schedules, that's one of the big things. But that integrity is really big for me. In my classroom, when I'm looking for leaders, I'm looking for those students that are committed, the ones that are driven, the ones that are motivated, and the ones that when there are group projects, they automatically take the lead. And I forgot the other question.
What do you consider your most outstanding leadership quality?
For me, probably communication. I believe that leaders have to have great, effective communication skills, and that's mine.
The quality that I look for in a leader is a motivator and someone that energizes me to get whatever task accomplished. I look for that. And I think that helped me in my development of being a leader is to be a motivator. I see that in myself, that every time I'm faced with something or in a group, I'm always trying to motivate, even if to the end of, for example, we do a physical exam every Thursday with new applicants coming into the sheriff department. And I'm always seeing myself as the motivator. You can do it, let's get it done, giving them tips, just working with them so they can achieve that goal. They came out there for a purpose, and I want to see them walk out with success.
Definitely important. Thank you. How do you motivate a person that you see leadership qualities in when they don't recognize that quality in themselves?
Students, teachers, staff, anybody that I pick up on the fact that they're a natural born leader or even demonstrating leadership qualities, many of them don't even know it. So I bring them in and I sit them down and I compliment them on what it is they're doing, and then I remind them that did you notice that people just gravitate towards you, or when you speak, people naturally listen. I have a teacher in the 6th grade that teaches science, and she has no idea that she's a leader. But when she gets the microphone in her hand, people stop and people listen. And she's modest and she doesn't understand that exactly what she has, that skill and that knack to motivate people. So I bring them in, I sit them down, and I encourage them and point out resources and give them opportunities to showcase those leadership skills. And then it just kind of, snowballs from there.
I know within my classroom and with my mentees, some of the ways that I try to show them that they are leaders is I delegate more with them, and whether it's a small task that I know they can accomplish, and then praise them so that their confidence is building, because once they start to develop that confidence, then they want to do more, they want to experience that some more, and so the leadership just grows on them.
I think as a leader trying to help other individuals identify, their own leadership identity, one of the things that I typically try and do is take a coaching role to that practice. It's very simple to, give a person a task and allow them to sink or swim within that. But as a coach, going back into once they've tried something new and helping them be really reflective on that aspect of it and helping them understand, how they could improve on that practice or what would they, try and do better or differently, and just trying to coach them through that particular process of really making them see the ownership and the value in doing something and helping them walk through that till they develop who they are instead of telling them who they should be is really a way in which I try and help individuals walk into their leadership.
When it comes to students, I want to piggyback off that just a little bit, Mr. Butler. It's a challenge for young people to step up and be leaders because there's scrutiny from their peers Oftentimes, they're not encouraged, or it's not necessarily cool to be a leader. And you can see it even at the middle school level where I am currently. From the 6th grade level, they don't want any part of it. But then as they grow into 7th graders and then ultimately 8th graders before they move on to high school, they realize that it's okay to step out and it's okay to take a leadership role. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're bossy. It just means that you're willing to take risks. And so my message to young people is don't be afraid to take risks and don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be a leader, because people are waiting. The people around you are looking for somebody to lead the way. As teachers and coaches and administrators, students don't always listen to us, but they'll listen to each other. And so if a student leader steps up and says, hey, why don't we do this? They might get a hard time at first, but ultimately they're going to earn respect and the other students are going to follow them.
Who has been a mentor or role model for you and why?
One mentor in my life has definitely been my mom. She is a teacher. She has taught for a couple of decades now at a variety of levels, and she inspired me to become a teacher. And getting to see her in the classroom, and her not just be a teacher in the school system, but to be a teacher to just the children she encountered day to day, to me and my brother, to kids at church, to anybody who would listen. She has imparted her wisdom, and that has really encouraged me to take that gift of teaching and to spread joy and positivity through that.
I like to say that a role model in my life is my parents. And I thank God that both of them are still with me today. They're 80 plus. And my dad, make it real short, my dad in 2023 had a major stroke and thought we was gonna lose him. Today he's still with us. And I looked at him during that time in that crisis, how he had a will to live when they said he wouldn't. Today we call him a miracle. And some of those qualities and things that he has in him, I see him in myself. Hard worker, determined, never give in, never give up. And I think that's what really motivates me today.
So for me is also my parents. They've always taught me that you have to work hard for everything that you want, that nothing is handed to you. Still to this day, you have to put yourself into some uncomfortable situations or to grow. When you grow, it's never always comfortable. My dad was also a teacher and a coach, so he inspired me, and I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps, watching all the influences he had on his players and his students throughout the years. And then another one for me is my 5th grade teacher. She really took me under her wing. I was her little student teacher in high school. I don't forget what they call that, but I would go to her at 2 periods out of the day. I remember that. So I like to go with her, and she just kind of led me on the path to become a teacher, and I'm still in touch with her to this day. So she still motivates me and inspires me all the time.
I'll take this last one. Unlike everyone else on here, my parents are actually deceased and have been for a very long time. So throughout life, I've had to adapt quickly and find men and women, mostly women, that have what I want in life, have a great disposition, and are able to mentor me. So even at my school right now, Dr. Jones is there. She's the reason I'm in grad school. She encouraged me, she pushed me. I have one of my former teachers, actually my kindergarten teacher, believe it or not, she's still teaching. And she has been with me for, goodness, since I was 5. We still check in with one another. She encourages me, she motivates me. She has been phenomenal. And I never thought that I would be an educator. And it's because of, the motivation and the inspiration I've had because of her that I'm still in education now. So, sometimes you have to look outside the family, but people are there. And if you have somebody in life that you see that has what you want, all you have to do is talk to them and they will help you get there.
I love that. Thank you for sharing your story, because sometimes it is, we find so many times, especially with our students, that maybe it's not the parent that they can look up to, but just knowing and having those resources at our schools or in our community where kids have someone that they can look up to. So I like that. How, and some of you shared this, but how were your parents influential in your success?
Well, I mean, with my parents, not to get too deep into it, but college wasn't an option for my family. You know, it really wasn't a pathway that was even talked about, discussed. None of my family members had been to college. My parents hadn't been to college. My aunts and uncles hadn't been to college. So that was not really an option for us. Fortunately, I had those teachers and coaches at the school that I attended right here in Manatee County, Southeast High School, that motivated me to pursue college through a sport. And in my case, it was baseball. And had it not been for those coaches motivating me and coaching me and encouraging me, I probably would not have become the player that I did. And my parents supported me, but they just had a distrust for folks that went off to college, because, you know, if you go to college, well, you're just not going to be a hard worker. You know, you're supposed to get your hands dirty, you're supposed to break your back, and you're supposed to, work the land or whatever it is. But then soon after, getting there, they saw a different side of it. So I'm steering off the question just a bit, but sometimes motivation comes in proving somebody wrong. So don't be afraid to break that pathway or break the chain and go do something that maybe you do want to do, even though you're being told that that's not possible. Listen to the teachers that are around you. Listen to the coaches and the men and women in your life, like a Dr. Jones. She's an amazing woman, and she will teach you that anything is possible. Somebody has to be a doctor. Why not you? Somebody has to be a teacher. Why not you? Somebody has to be the president of the United States. Why not you? Don't think for 1 minute that you aren't capable of doing those things. So if you're encouraged by your parents to do those things, keep doing those things. If you're discouraged by your parents about furthering yourself academically or educationally, and that's something that you want to do, challenge yourself. Because every one of us could sit here and say, if I could go back to middle school, I might do it a little bit differently, or I might have set a different path for myself. So keep your dreams alive and take advice from your parents and take advice from your family. Work hard, and anything is possible.
Yeah, I want to share about my parents. My parents are old school, very Christian. So growing up with a big family, 3 brothers, 3 sisters from a little small community in Robonia, I really thought my parents was the meanest people, strict. You had to walk a straight line. I mean, Sunday was all reserved for church. You knew that. Don't go left or right. You know you're going to church. But the things that they instilled in me holds today. Being responsible, accountable, taking care of your family. My dad told me growing up, he said, turn off the lights when no one's in the room. And I could understand that. Why you always want me to turn the lights off? He said, you'll understand it when you get your own house and you'll see that light bill. And then one time I had a light bill that was so high. And it just hit me just like that, what my daddy said, turn the lights off. Now, I relate that to my kids, turn the lights off. They take me long to get that message, but I appreciate my parents for the things that they instilled in me, even though I thought it was tough, but now I know why they did it. Because number one, they really loved me, and they cared for me. They wanted me to be successful, and that's why I am successful today, because of the things that they really taught and was an example for me to see. So I appreciate, I call them my Bahamas and Georgia connection. Now you probably say, why you say that? Because my mom is from Bahamas, my dad was from Georgia, and I always ask them, how did y'all get connected?
How has service and community involvement impacted you and helped your growth? So service and community involvement.
Quickly, for me, community service is all about building relationships. And that threw me off, hold on. It's okay, it's okay. Building relationships, especially when I take my kids out in our family, community service is something that we have to do. It's just something that's been instilled in us from, day one. But it's the relationship building, and it also helps you appreciate what you have by going out and helping others. And it's just a great way to build up your community. And that's one of the reasons that I look forward to doing it. I do everything from Stuff the Bus that we have with Manatee County every year, Suncoast. There are so many other organizations that you can work with as well, but I just truly believe that when you interact with your community, you help this be a better place. And I just feel that everyone should have some sort of community service and involvement.
And when I look at what I do every day as a law enforcement deputy, is to serve my community in the best way that I can, to assist them whatever needed. When I retired and I came back and I had a meeting with the sheriff and he said, I just want you to do what you do. And he understood what I did. I was heavily involved in my community. And if I start rolling off the list of the service committees that I'm a part of, you'll probably say, what do you have time to do what you do? But it all works out. One of the ones that stick out, I'm a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I have mentees in that organization. I'm a part of Take Stock. I have a mentee at Pamela High. And giving back is so important. Just encouraging, directing students, ones that you come in close contact with, it makes a big difference. Some of my mentees have no male role models, contact, and just that little time I spent makes a big difference. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I mean, I look forward to meeting them on the days that I go, checking grades, making sure everything's straight, because I see something in some of them. They're going places. All they got to do is have that little push, and that's what I'm there for, that push.
I think part of it, the biggest thing, everyone has said a lot of great things about community service and many of things, but for the young people in the room, I think the most important thing is, do you have a willingness to have an open hand to help others, in their time of need? It doesn't have to be great, but you could see a friend who, maybe they need a pair of shoes, and it doesn't have to be a new pair of shoes. And you could have the same shoe size, and you just go get a pair of your good shoes and you give it to them, and no one ever has to know anything about it. The things that you do in secret that, you support someone and help someone, so that way, they're seen and they feel valued. Those are the small things that add up into greater things. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned in my life of service is, all of those small opportunities for me to show love and support to just one individual. My mom always used to tell me that, charity started at home and then spread it abroad, and that was not just with the people in my home, but the people within my community, the people within, my region here, our state, our nation, and then being able to go outside of this. So, just starting with one person and one thing that you can do to them, whether it's speaking, words of encouragement to them because you see that they may be down or, just not having a good moment, or if it means that, you see someone that might be hungry and you have something to provide for them, that you could do those things. Service to people doesn't have to be big. It's just a small openness of your own hand and your own heart to just really love on somebody in their time of need.
Perfect. Mr. Edwards, how are we on time? We're good? Okay. What is the greatest obstacle that impacts learning at your school?
Lisa Irby, the greatest obstacle.
I would say for my experiences at both high schools that I've worked at and the current middle school would be attendance. You know, in this district, we have an attendance issue. And many times it's not by choice. It's because students are out working to help support their families, or they're taking their parents to the hospital for doctor's appointments, or they're taking younger kids to school, and then they just don't make it to their own school. You know, by the time they drop off little brother and sister to elementary and the older one to middle, and, you know, high school starts at 7:30, it's already close to 9 o'clock, and then they just decide well, I've got other things to do. So attendance is a huge obstacle. But I'm gonna tell you this, your school experience is temporary, and it goes by a whole lot faster than you'll ever think. So for the young people that are watching this, listen to me when I say, get as much of this as you possibly can, because one day you're actually gonna miss it. And every adult in this room would probably gladly go back to school and do it all over again, because, you know, really that is the time of your life where you don't have the major responsibilities. You know, if you have to help your family, I understand that. But at the same time, you can help you and your family in the long run by getting a further, deeper education by being at school every day.
I'm not at a school, but one of the obstacles when I was a supervisor of the school resource officer program was creating a safe learning environment. I can hear myself in meetings saying a kid will learn if they feel safe. You got to make them feel safe. If something is not right, you got to make them feel safe. Some of the reasons why we have kids don't want to come to schools because they don't feel safe. We have guardians, we have SROs on campus. But how do we create that safe learning environment? Students, you know what goes on your campus. You have to say something. And I know that the thing that runs through your head is that I am not a snitch. Okay, but report. Because if something negative happened on that campus and you could have prevented, you got to say something. You have to say something. We see it every day. I think I go back and I look at when we have school shootings, and I always say we got to have the drills for that. We have to practice that. So it gets in your mind that this is what I need to do. I don't need to panic. My thing was, when was the last time you knew of a school that we lost students because of a fire? I looked around, no one could give me a date. But when I asked the question, when was the last school shooting? Everybody started naming dates. They started naming locations because they could remember. Why can't we have what we should have, what we have for fires, for shootings? More drills. Make sure that your campus is safe. Make sure that your students know, your staff knows that reporting is okay. It's okay to report. You see something out of whack, let someone know so we can address it. If you feel safe, you will learn.
What is the most beneficial contribution that parents can make on your campus to support closing the achievement gap?
I think for high school, just being present and, you know, available. I think sometimes, at least at the secondary level, high school parents, they send their teenage kids off and they expect them to go and do what's expected of them, and that, you know, they're kind of hands off a little bit versus how they were when they were elementary students and, you know, the parents are at every event, or even middle school when they attend events. You know, in high school, they come to the big things, but, you know, it's the small things that matter the most, you know, staying on top of making sure that, you know, they're completing small things like homework. You know, I don't know many high schools where teenagers don't go home with homework, you know, so always just checking in on them and making sure they're taking the time to do those things, and communicating with the teachers about how the students are progressing, both good and bad. That's important for parents, just to be involved and present, at least in their high schooler's life. That's my experience.
So elementary, I would say the same thing, being present and also asking for help. for parents to ask when they're unsure about something or they need help understanding. I mean, even that elementary school work, sometimes we don't understand. But knowing where the resources are that they can help if they need to help at home, and reading with their children at home, and just if they need help to ask for it, because that's what we're there for on all levels, not just academic. Anything that the family needs, anything to support them, to then turn around and also, help the student attendance. So anything we can do as a whole for the entire family, both in and outside of the school, we always want to help.
Absolutely, being present in middle school is still a huge thing, and parents being around is a huge factor. And as a teacher, I'm going to be biased here, but supporting teachers from a disciplinary standpoint and an academic standpoint is one of the biggest indicators of student success. When I know that if I call home, the parent is going to have a conversation with their student about an issue that occurred that day or about a success, I know that student's going to come back even better the next day. And knowing that a parent is going to be supportive of what I have to say is the most encouraging thing to encounter. And getting parents answering machines over and over again when I call home, that is one of the most discouraging things. So student success definitely has to do a lot with the ways that parents interact with teachers, whether that's just communication over email or phone, or just supporting what they hear coming home.
And finally, to piggyback off of that, all of those are great responses. We have tools for parents. We have Focus Access through the parent portal. We have Schoology. Get your students' username and password. Most of your work, although not required to be on Schoology, is on Schoology, because teachers are probably the most organized human beings on the planet, and they need that. And they utilize it, and I think it's important that when you go home and you talk to your child and you say, do you have any homework? And they say no, yeah, that's not true. There's always something to do, whether it's studying for a science test on Friday, or getting ahead on your reading, or doing some math problems. It's important that you set a time for your students to work on those things. You need to invest in your children. Invest the time, the energy, and sometimes the discipline, because none of us wanted to go home and do homework, but we did it because it was part of the process, and it taught us how to power through, how to deal with tough times, how to problem solve, how to deal with adversity. It's just part of growing up, and that's why I think it's important for parents to utilize our systems such as the Schoology and the Focus, and make sure that the children are keeping up, because that's what we need. We have, as a teacher, we may have a child for 55 minutes a day. They come home, they're with you for 6-7 hours before bedtime. So we need, you to help us as much as we're trying to help you.
I think that's important, and just one last point, how parents, the greatest impact is having conversations with your child. Asking open-ended questions about how their day was, what was, the most impactful part of, what they experienced the day, and getting them to really talk about what's going on, and making them, building those connections and trust with you as their parent, and knowing that they can share and express their feelings. Because I look at it now as a high school principal, and my oldest child is a high schooler now with me at my school. That's a different dynamic for me, where I now have to have those kind of conversations with my daughter about what's going on in her life and how she's, experiencing high school, from her lens, and not just from the perspective of me as a parent, the perspective of me as an educator, as a leader for her. So for parents, it's very, very important that you take that time to talk to your child and listen to your child. Not just listen for the things that you don't want to hear, but listen for the things that they need for you to hear about what's going on with them, and helping them navigate through that. That's completely important for them as they grow up in this very social media driven society that will really drive their identity if you as a parent are not involved with them.
Thank you. That is all of the panel questions that I have. Is there any other questions from anybody in the audience? Come to the microphone because we're recording.
He's been online school since 8th grade, right? Through middle school. Would it be harder for a kid to go in school after that?
So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking, is it a challenge to go from online learning through elementary and even into middle school and then
Yeah.
transitioning to a high school or middle school? I would say that if the student was diligent in their studies and was successful online, the transition to regular live classes would not be that challenging. Okay. Obviously, there are standards that you have to learn throughout the course of each year. I feel that it's important for students to be in school. You're going to learn social skills. You're going to develop lifelong friends. I mean, to this day, we all have friends that we went to high school with. And that's really the folks that you spend the most time and rub elbows with the most. And you're gonna find folks that are just like you. You know, water finds its own level. There's a lid for every pot. You call it whatever you want to, but there's always people that are just like you. So I do feel that it's important, and I do feel that it's absolutely an easy transition if you've applied yourself at the virtual level.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for having the courage to answer your question, to ask that question. Appreciate that. You're a leader. All right. With that, oh, go ahead.
As a parent, as change, don't make me cry, for the better. What resources are out there when your child has been, in a broken home, in and out, but, all right, hold on. Where my 15-year-old daughter and I right now, we're changing, we're making changes, positive, healthier, and moving forward from what was. Well, she has missed so much school, so I've tried her in, the Lee, the homeschool, King right now, and she's just far behind where she's missed so much school because she was in the system in 3 different homes, and now, it's reunify, everything's beautiful. But it's the school and where she wants to learn. She has goals, and she knows what she wants, but she's right here. Of course, she has her behavior, problems, and whatever. I need the resources to go, where do we go from here? She's 15, she's still in 8th grade. Where, as a parent that wants better for the both of us, where do I go now?
So I can connect with you with that, in that my son, he's a 7th grader, but he had a hard time coming out of COVID, just transitioning back, and just has had ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and got to a point where he didn't even want to go to school. And as an educator, I struggled with, man, my own son doesn't want to be at school. He missed many, many days, to where he felt so defeated and embarrassed about the number of days that he never felt that he could crawl out of a hole. So it really took a lot of internal things from my wife and I as parents for us to reflect on how we could best support him and knowing what we needed. And we turned to the school that he goes to, and it first came with having a meeting with all of his teachers, or in your case, having a meeting with all of your daughter's teachers, and just talking around the things that they do well in class, and the things that they see when they are there and they are present. And you just pick a few of those things to start building on with them. And I would say, as a parent, leaning on that. Also, not being afraid to allow them space to talk to someone who's not you about what they're feeling. Because our kids, they love us, but sometimes it's like it's peeling that onion to try and get them to share those thoughts. A lot of tears come in that. So, you got to give them that. So for our son, it really helped with getting him connected with the counselor and knowing that they were going to have those conversations. So he started to feel a sense of just internal intrinsic value in himself that I couldn't talk him through because I didn't have those tools to do that an expert did have with doing those things. And I think it's also important for you to remind, your daughter that she doesn't have to be perfect, and you're not asking for 100%, but you're asking for her to put one foot in front of the other. And if that one foot in her moving forward gets her 25% closer, then that's a great first step. And you just keep building off of those and not putting the weight of, I need you to be this now, because if you do that, they won't respond the way that you want them to. So, I would encourage you with that is just first start with having a conversation with the school, getting her connected with a counselor that she could just talk to openly in that manner, and just, pick small steps of things that you all can work through in partnership as a team, mom and daughter, to move forward to where you want it to be. And that's okay if it's not perfect this year because we'll build on that for next year, so that's how I've taken that approach with my own kid, and, I've seen it work, so that's what I can encourage you with.
And I have, but we moved, better homing, better in the school that she was in. Of course, I went to school, we all sat down, discussed, and then they found out that we moved, and so I didn't have that choice of keeping her there. I had to move. So now she was building that, and so I just need to know. So I have. I didn't mean to, but.
Okay, this is close to home here. So what I would do is I would meet with the principal at your child's school. And that principal probably has some creative ideas to get your child caught up. It's going to require a little bit of work. It's going to require some work from home, depending on how far behind she is. We want everybody to get their points and move on to high school. And I can speak on behalf of myself that you can become a totally different person with a fresh start when you go to high school, because everybody gets a blank slate. You can be a 4.0 or a 1.5, but you make it to high school, you're starting all over, and everybody starts out with an A. So I would recommend you reach out to your school's principal, and he will sit down, or she will sit down with you and work with the guidance counselors. If there's some online course recovery that's involved, we can make that happen. Unlike high school, we're based on points, and it's a little bit easier to get points than it is to get credits. So there are avenues that we can provide that can help speed up that progress to get her that fresh start and that new outlook at her high school.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And since you said your daughter is at King, here's her principal.
Oh.
So at the end, you can just tap him on the shoulder, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Edwards.
I would just like to truly say what a pleasure it is. Even though we're low in numbers, we're going to have opportunities here. You heard some great information, and I hope that you would take that with you. And I hope that you're seeing that the school district of Manatee County is willing to meet you halfway. We're not asking you to come up to our district office or the professional services center or even at some of the schools. We'll come to community centers to be able to provide a resource to you and for you. And while you're talking about resources, we have one that's here this evening, and I would ask that you stop by the booth of Avenue 941 that we partnered with that organization to provide after-school tutoring in several churches throughout our community, which is an extension of our student day. So there are resources that are out there. What I find from time to time is the people that need the most help are not aware of the resources that are there, and the ones that are aware of them, they don't need the resources. So we have to begin to really bridge that gap. Something innovative and creative that we're doing is creating a parent coalition, because a lot of times parents are connected to certain schools or a group of schools, and a lot of the parents are not getting together to really help each other parent, because it's not an easy job. You don't have a manual when they're born, so it's one of the toughest jobs that's around. So we wanted to create an opportunity for you to visit with other parents and be able to have that dialogue. We don't want you to just rely on Wikipedia or Facebook or some social media parent groups to be responding to questions. I'm willing to meet you, and I'm creating this environment once a month where I plan to sit down with parents and be able to help them navigate, because it's more happening now than ever. So I encourage you to reach out to me. My email address is edwardso@manateeschools.net if you would like to be a part of the Parent Coalition, where we're going to get a group of parents and we're going to meet once a month for 30 to 45 minutes just to make myself available to parents so that we can have parents helping other parents, because some parents have truly figured it out and others can use the resources and the benefits of that. So, trust and believe that we're here to meet you halfway to be a partner in your child's education. So again, I thank the students that I had to recruit off the basketball court that came. It's amazing what pizza would do, but I truly thank you for participating, and I hope that you got something out of this. My parents that attended this evening, you're well on your way just by coming here, and the dialogue can really happen with the panel after this presentation if you have any one-on-one questions that you want to have answered. We're in for a treat. Under closing remarks, I would like to bring up a guy that I brought in that travels the country, speaking and helping schools and organizations really transform their climate, their culture. He's a speaker, he's an author, he's an entertainer, he's very talented. He came in this week and we had one school so far, but he's going to meet with 4 schools, students, faculty, and staff, to really motivate them and really encourage them, because we're leaning into our heavy testing period next week. So we wanted to kind of give some schools an opportunity to get a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of motivation. So I'm gonna bring him up at this time. It's Mr. Lacobe, AKA The Wiz, and let's give him a warm welcome to really close us out and really bring us home today.
Thank you. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but with a chuckle he replied that maybe it could, but he'd be the one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a bit of a grin on his face if he worried he hit it, and he started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that," as no one had ever done it. But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the first thing you knew, he begun it. With the lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you that it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle right in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it, and start to sing as you tackle that thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. Parenting is a difficult job. Being a student is a difficult job. Being a teacher is a difficult job. Administration is a difficult job. Whatever you do, there are challenges at every level. And there's going to be people telling you that you cannot do a certain thing. But you have to just buckle right in, right? With a bit of a grin. There's going to be challenges as a student, challenges as a parent, but we have to realize that regardless of the challenges, there is always a way. And it's not what happens to us, but it's how we respond to the things that happen to us. We get to choose how we see the things. Perspective is everything. 80% of the thoughts that come into our mind are negative thoughts. So we don't have to think about the negative things. It's the working and the challenging of your mind to think and to choose positivity that we have to do. We don't get to choose the things that come into our head, but we get to choose the thoughts that stay. And so as we live and we go through and we make these challenges and we have, go forth and trying to be successful in our life, it's venues like these that we have to take advantage of. It's the opportunity to have conversations to get to the things that we feel that we need as parents, as students, as administrators. Learning happens in the conversation, and participation is where life happens. And so if you don't have the conversation and you don't take advantage of the opportunities to participate, then nothing changes. Because what we know is that different does not come from same. And so in order to get something different, we have to do something different. So, Mr. Edwards, I thank you for what you do. I thank you for creating this space for parents and administrators and teachers to come together to have a conversation, because that is how change happens. And so if you take advantage of the opportunities, then that's when you get the benefit of the opportunities. So I hope that those who are watching via YouTube, via Facebook, that the next time, this is a monthly thing, and everybody's living life. But take advantage and get up to the school. I challenge parents to go up to the school. Don't wait till you're invited. Go up to the school, meet the administrator, meet the teachers. And I tell teachers, don't wait till there's something wrong. You have an issue with the child. Reach out to the parents. Call them. Hey, this is such and such. This is your child's teacher. And the parents just go, well, what happened? What did he do? Oh, nothing happened. I'm just reaching out to you to let you know that I am, partnering with you toward your child's success. And I thank you for trusting me with them. So it takes both, right? And you have to be intentional, because that's how success happens. So I, pose the challenge to the parents who are watching, to the administrators who are watching, to the teachers, to be intentional in partnering and coming together for children's success. My name is L. Kobe DeWiz. I'm a master teacher and national educational strategist, and that's the work that I do around the country, working with teachers, schools, parents, and creating and bringing the whole school community together. So L. Kobe DeWiz is my name, and I'm happy to be here this week working with Manatee Schools. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, this concludes our program, and you can enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. And take a pizza with you.